Welcome to Cast of Wonders, the fiction audio magazine for young adults featuring stories of the fantastic. I'm Graham Dunlop. Today we present part 2 of Cockatrice Girl Meets Statue Boy by Willow Fagan. If you didn't catch part 1, please go back and listen to episode 18. We gave Willow's bio last episode, so check the notes on episode 18 if you want to know more. Or you can find out more about Willow at willowfagan.livejournal.com. Please check the show notes for details. And now, we've a tale to tell.
Cockatrice Girl stood on her staircase, which curved like a neck, twisted out of shape by desire, and surveyed the party. Beatrice, of course, sat in a corner by herself, unapproachable even in this gathering of freaks, improbables, and predators, cut off from the world by her own unmanageable hair. Surprisingly, Flannery appeared to be engaged in a friendly, animated conversation with a boy whose balloon head floated several feet above his collar. A cluster of vampires attempted to drain the leather-covered man into the punch bowl. In the courtyard, the Good Fairy and a few of the more wide-eyed bitches brew girls had attempted, mostly unsuccessfully, to start some kind of circular flowing game involving glowing orbs of light and pastel-coloured scarves. The party seemed to be going well, although Cockatrice Girl did not care much either way. She was looking for a certain type of person. She needed to make sure the liquid in the vial worked. She spotted a used heart salesman named Victor, who considered himself to be wily. She sauntered over to him. "Well, hello," Victor said, his smile widening.
Victor.
Cockatrice Girl traced the edge of his glass with one long arched finger.
Have I ever told you that you look like a perfect devil in that suit?
"I feel like a fox in the fox house," Victor replied. "So many villains. If only we were united by some visionary leader. Think of the scams we could pull off. The epic deceptions."
Now, Victor.
Cockatrice Girl waggled her finger in front of his face. At the same time, with the slightest flick of her other wrist, she poured a drop from the vial into his glass.
Be good.
With that, she walked away. Before she had gotten far, Victor cried out, "My bones! They're melting!" Cockatrice Girl turned around. It was a puddle of flesh on the floor. Drifting through the party, Cockatrice Girl saw a woman with the strangest haircut she had ever seen. Most of her hair hung long, behind her head like a cape, but parts of it were short and spiky, and there were several floppy mohawks running diagonally across her scalp. The woman sobbed inconsolably, and Cockatrice Girl paused to watch. The punk barber responsible stood there, still holding the scissors, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "Chill out," he said. "He'll grow back." "Not the same," the woman wailed. "It won't ever be the same." The punk barber implored Cockatrice Girl with his eyes, and the woman took notice of her. "Sister!" the woman cried, and it was Beatrice, her sister, whose face Cockatrice Girl did not remember, could not look at now. "Don't you recognize me?" "You cut your hair?" "I didn't. He did. Never asked me. Just started chopping away. A lawnmower." Cockatrice Girl could think of nothing to say. Seeing Beatrice's face, she realized now, was like seeing her sister's privates, as if some foolish child had pulled down her pants as a cruel prank. Her sister's face was impossibly pale, surprisingly expressive, causing Cockatrice Girl to wonder if Beatrice had been smiling and winking and crying behind her hair all these years, like a play performed with the curtains still drawn. Beatrice's face was as vulnerable and soft as any person's naked face, without makeup or mask. Cockatrice Girl felt something rising in her throat, something she had to fight to keep down. She didn't know if it were a laugh or a rising tide of vomit. Instead of finding out, she walked away. She waited for Statue Boy to approach her. He did so a little after midnight. "Good evening, Cassandra," he said cheerfully, sitting his glass on the table beside her. He wore a tuxedo. Though it grated her, she didn't bother to correct him about her name.
"Oh, I didn't realize you had come."
In fact, she had been watching him all night. A snake, eyeing a hawk. "Are you enjoying your party?"
"Why?"
She let her drink slip out of her hand. The glass landed in the carpet, askew but not spilling. "Let me get that for you," he offered, as she had known he would.
"Oh, you don't have..."
He handed the glass back to her.
"Thank you."
What did you put in my drink? He asked.
Put in your drink?
I saw you, remember?
Well, since you don't trust me, why don't you take my drink? You rescued it, after all.
Nice try. Cockatrice Girl grinned.
You're good,
she said, and walked away. She poured her drink down the toilet. Cockatrice Girl spotted Flannery, still talking to the boy with a floating balloon head. She stood behind a wide-leaved potted plant to eavesdrop. I dream about it, the balloon-headed boy said. The buildings shrink into dollhouses, the people becoming ants, tiny and armless, the valley itself no more than a crack in the sidewalk. And it would be so cold up there above the clouds, Flannery said, shivering with delight. And if we reached the moon, it would be cold all the time. It would be an Eden of winter. And there would be so little gravity. Would you, I hope this doesn't offend you. But what if we rented a hot air balloon? I would love... The balloon-headed boy cut himself off. But wouldn't the heat be unbearable for you? I could pack ice, Flannery said gallantly. Suitcases and suitcases full of ice. Statue Boy found her again later. Won't you tell me if you're enjoying your party? He said.
I'm having a blast, a smash, an absolute crash.
Your smile seems frozen, Statue Boy said.
Part of me has been frozen,
Cockatrice Girl replied.
For as long as I can remember. That's how I turn people to stone.
I wasn't a person turned to stone. I'm a statue that came to life.
But how is that possible?
Magic? Cockatrice Girl snorted.
That's like saying, how did humans land on the moon? Technology.
She understood her outburst now. Some deeper, wiser part of her, some ancient reptile within her brain, had realized that the only way to beat Statue Boy was to pretend to play his game, to act as if she loved him. She would walk hand in hand with him deep into the tender temple of his heart, and then she would tear her way out with her claws. Let me show you something, he said.
Of course. Take me by the hand.
Not yet. As they walked and chatted, Cockatrice Girl was surprised by how easy it was to pretend. She had assumed that she would have to fight, breath by breath, to mask her rage, but she found that her laughs were genuine. Though Statue Boy did not reveal the mechanism of his transformation, he did tell her about the days following. He described the painful process of teaching himself to move, the humiliation of bird poop in the eye, the double takes, the rude questions she knew so well. His narrative, whilst honest to the dark, did not neglect the lighter moments. Once he told her he met a blind man who, after exploring Statue Boy's face with his fingers, had exclaimed, "Great, sir! Tell me what noble deed made you revered in the valley, for there is a statue of you in Three Feathers Park," and how he, laughing, confessed that he was the statue, come to life. Statue Boy made his learning to walk into a humorous epic. He rhapsodized about the joys of swimming, the feeling of the water flowing against his stone skin, his limbs gliding through the water, he and the river in a dance of motion. When they passed through the entrance of the maze, Cockatrice Girl smiled smugly to herself. Statue Boy caught this and said, "Don't be so sure." Her mood soured as they got nearer and nearer to the centre of the maze, and Statue Boy evaded the spikes, the arrows, and the crocodiles. She grew more and more anxious. Her replies became shorter, vaguer. How could he know this? They were mere turns from the centre. Cockatrice Girl thought she would faint. She wanted to scream. She wanted to rip off this pleasant mask and turn the world to stone. But Statue Boy was stone, and he could still move, and he was moving, his hand towards hers. "It'll be okay," he said. "I promise. I'm living proof." She stopped walking, stood perfectly still. She had never been this far into the maze. She did not know how to move here, with the living statue holding her hand. She put on a wide smile, a wink, and a weapon hidden in its corners.
"I want to touch you,"
she said, pulling his hand towards her breast.
"I want to feel your smooth stone. I want to discover how anatomically correct you are."
Statue Boy pulled his hand away, sighed. "Cassandra, I may be stone, but I'm not a fool. The only person you're outwitting is yourself." He'd left her there, in the maze, which she had built, but which not even she had been able to solve. She began to cry, to take random turns. Somehow, through the haze of her tears, she found her way out. The next day, of course, another envelope from him arrived. She stared at the white rectangle, such a commonplace object, such a dangerous object, and yet she could not turn it to stone. She could not poison it, could not flatten it, could not trick it, weave elaborate lies to it, or in any way stab it in the back with her tongue. She had the same options available to everyone. She could burn it, hide it in a box, or open it. Cockatrice Girl was tired of burning, tired of waiting for someone, even herself, to open a lid, a door, a window, tired of waiting for the entrances of air and light. She opened the envelope.
And so ends Cockatrice Girl Meets Statue Boy. We hope you enjoyed this story. Drop by the forum and tell us what you think. Visit castofwonders.org/forums and tell us. We'd love to hear from you. Cast of Wonders is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. Yes, share it all you like, but don't change it or sell it. The theme is Appeal to Heavens by Alexei Nov from musicalley.com. Join us next time for Peanut Butter and Jellyfish by Guy Stewart.